Of 16-year-old Zariah Dodd, who was pregnant when she died. 2 men are in custody accused of conspiring to kill her, including the unborn baby's father. Taylor Wirtz joins me with the details tonight. Taylor.
Yeah, Brian, Jarrell Davis and Jacreed James Gillette are each facing 2 counts of first-degree murder. They appeared in court late last night. I talked with criminal defense attorney Benjamin Taylor tonight about what's next for the suspects in the search for justice for Zariah.
16 years old, almost 6 months pregnant, and the people paid to protect her let her walk out the door at 8 p.m. knowing exactly who she was running to. By sunrise, Zariah Dodd was dead in a park, and that man, he'd done this before. The system knew, her family knew, and nobody stopped it. Step into grave kisses, where the shadows whisper, and the secrets the world tried to bury scream to be heard. This isn't just true crime. This is truth with teeth. Stories that sting. Cases that crawl under your skin. Names that refuse to stay forgotten. We don't chase headlines, we chase ghosts. Because here, every story deserves one last heartbeat. So if you're the kind who can't look away, who wants to know what really happened, who believes every story deserves its voice, this is where you belong. Hit subscribe, stay close, because the truth doesn't rest easy, and neither do we. Zariah Dodd came into this world fighting. By the time she turned 1 year old, the state of Arizona had already decided her mother battling addiction and her father locked up couldn't raise her, so the Department of Child Safety stepped in. They took custody. They promised protection. They promised care. Let me tell you something. That promise, it was empty from the start. Her uncle Eric, her aunt Canella Bernard, her grandmother Luzelle Spencer, they tried. Over and over, they tried to bring Zariah home. They wanted to raise her, love her, give her the life she deserved. But every time they reached out, every time they fought through the paperwork and the court dates and the caseworkers, the system said no. The system had her. The system would handle it. So Zariah grew up in group homes, multiple group homes, moving from place to place, never really having a home at all. But the girl, she had spirit. Her family remembers her as bubbly, always talking, always in the mix. If she loved you and you could see it. It was genuine all the time, her aunt said.
Family that loved her, that could have taken care of her, that she wouldn't still be in the system. I tell you one thing, she'd still be alive if she was with us.
Zariah had that survivor mentality. She adapted. She pushed through. She kept going, even when the world kept moving her around like a piece on a board she never asked to play on. But here's what her uncle said that should make every single one of us stop and think.
They took a beautiful soul away. They took someone who had survivor mentality and wasn't really capable and able to really fully be a kid.
Think about that. A teenage girl who never got to just be a teenager because she was too busy surviving a system that was supposed to protect her. Now, let's talk about Brian Terrell Davis, 37 years old. And if you're thinking this man just appeared in Zariah's life out of nowhere, you'd be wrong. See, Davis had a pattern, a documented, prosecuted, known pattern. Back in 2007, when Davis was 19 years old, he got a 14-year-old girl pregnant. Read that again, 19 and 14. He was arrested. He was charged. But here's where the system failed the first time he pled guilty to child abuse and got probation. Just probation. No prison time. No real consequences. Just a slap on the wrist and a note in his file that said he couldn't have guns anymore. Fast forward to 2024. Davis is now in his late 30s. And somehow, some way, he's in contact with Zariah Dodd, a girl in state custody, living in a group home, barely 15 years old when it started. December 2023. That's when Zariah later told her caseworker that Davis first had sex with her. She was 15. He was 36. And according to what she confided, It wasn't consensual in the way people want to pretend these things are. She said he intimidated her into it. She said he had guns, multiple guns, even though his record said he wasn't supposed to have any. But hey, rules don't apply when nobody's checking, right? By early 2024, Zariah was pregnant, almost 6 months along. Expecting a baby girl she'd already named Zaloney. And here's the thing that should make your blood run cold. The people around her knew who the father was. The age gap wasn't a secret. The danger wasn't a mystery. In April 2025, 3 months before her death, Zariah sat down with her Department of Child Safety caseworker and told her everything. She said Davis intimidated her into sex. She said she was afraid of him. She said he had guns. The caseworker did what she was supposed to do. She notified the police. Phoenix PD opened a sexual misconduct investigation. And then, they scheduled a forensic interview for Zariah. You know when? 3 months later. July. Make it make sense. A teenage girl tells you she's been sexually abused by a grown man with a history of doing the exact same thing, tells you she's scared because he's armed, and you give him 3 months before you even sit her down for a proper interview? Zariah's family asked the same question. If you got somebody coming to you telling you that they're afraid for their life, why are you going to make it that long? Nobody had a good answer, because there isn't one. Now, while the system was dragging its feet, Davis wasn't sitting still. Court records show he'd been busy. In 2024, he violated an order of protection involving another 16-year-old girl. Police found him during a traffic stop in Pinal County, found the minor in the car with him, and found a gun. Remember, he wasn't supposed to have guns, but there it was. You know what happened? He pled guilty to interfering with judicial proceedings. They gave him unsupervised probation. Unsupervised, meaning no probation officer checking in, no oversight, nothing, just another slap on the wrist for a man who clearly couldn't stay away from teenage girls and illegal firearms. So by July 2025, here's where we're at. Zariah is 16, heavily pregnant, living in a group home called Sunshine Residential in Surprise, Arizona. She's reported her baby's father to DCS. The police know. An investigation is open. But Davis? He's still walking free, still armed, still dangerous. And time is running out. July 4th, 2025, Independence Day. Zariah is at the Sunshine Residential Group Home. Around 8 p.m., she asks the staff if she can see Jacree James Gillette. He's 18 years old later. We'll learn exactly what role he played in all this. The staff says no, she can't see him. So Zariah asks if she can go for a walk instead. And here's the part where everything falls apart. They say yes. It's 8 p.m. It's getting dark. This girl is 6 months pregnant, has an open investigation involving a dangerous older man, and has a history of running away. The group home manager would later tell detectives that Zariah had made it clear to other girls in the house that she planned to leave with her baby's father. They knew, and they let her walk out anyway. Zariah's aunt put it plainly.
Keep a more watch on her. If they knowing she's asking to go, you don't think she gonna go as soon as she get a chance, you know?
According to the investigation, Zariah didn't just go for a walk. She was picked up by Davis and Gillette. The three of them together. Whatever happened in those next hours, we may never know all the details. But what we do know is this. 6.5 hours after Zaria walked out of that group home, a gunshot rang out near Maryview Park in Phoenix. Surveillance cameras in the area caught the sound. One shot. That's all it took. July 5th, 2025. Morning light breaks over Phoenix. A body lies in Maryview Park near 57th Avenue and Osborne. A groundskeeper or an early morning jogger, someone finds her. Zariah Dodd, 16 years, old. One gunshot wound. 6 months pregnant with a baby girl who would never take her first breath. The group home had called police just after midnight when Zariah didn't return, but by then, She'd already been gone for hours. By the time her body was discovered that morning, it was too late for searches, too late for intervention, too late for everything. Phoenix police put out a media advisory. They listed the victim as an adult woman, 20 years old, they said. They didn't mention anything about a pregnancy, just a woman found in a park. That's it. But Zariah's family knew better. They'd been given a case report number by Phoenix PD, the same case number that matched the adult woman in the park. This wasn't some stranger. This was their Zariah, their baby girl who the system took when she was 1 and never gave back. Her father, Silquin Bernard, couldn't hide his frustration when he talked to reporters.
Surprised that y'all called me and my family down here to do this, but ain't no faith there.
And honestly, can you blame him? Zariah's father has his own theory.
I don't believe she was murdered there. I believe she was dumped there.
He thought she'd been killed somewhere else and her body left in that park like she was nothing, like she didn't matter. The investigation moved slowly, too slowly for a family that had been screaming for help long before their daughter's body ended up in a park. Phoenix police stayed tight-lipped. No updates, no arrests. Just the standard line about an ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, Zariah's family was left with questions nobody wanted to answer. How did a 16-year-old get from a group home in Surprise to a park in Phoenix? Who was she with in those final hours? Why was she shot? And who had the audacity to abandon her body like trash? Her uncle Eric said it plainly.
I'm glad you guys are picking up the story because, again, this is her story, but this is many other stories that are happening to these kids and these teens that are not being watched after. How in the hell does a 16-year-old get pregnant in the system?
That's the question, isn't it? How does a girl in state custody, supposedly under protection, supposedly being monitored, end up pregnant by a 37-year-old man with a conviction for doing the exact same thing before? The family had tried to get custody of Zariah multiple times. They filled out paperwork. They went to court. They did everything the system asked them to do, but DCS kept saying no, kept moving Zariah from group home to group home, kept her in a system that clearly couldn't protect her.
All we've ever wanted to do is get Zariah, raise her, and make sure she was a productive citizen out here.
They tell us to call them if the kid is in danger. Okay, she in danger from my mama, but y'all done put her in worse danger. Read that again. The system removed Zariah from her biological mother because she was deemed unsafe, then placed her in a situation where a predator with a record had access to her. Make it make sense. As the investigation continued, forensic teams worked the scene at Maryview Park. They collected evidence. They pulled surveillance footage from the area that captured that single gunshot. They started piecing together Zariah's last movements. And slowly, the picture started to come into focus. Detectives learned about Brian Terrell Davis. They learned about the paternity test that confirmed he was the father of Zariah's unborn child. They learned about the sexual misconduct investigation that had been opened in April, the one with the forensic interview scheduled for after Zariah was already dead. They also learned about Jacree James Gillette. The 18-year-old Zariah had asked to see the night she walked out of the group home, the young man who, according to investigators, was there when everything went down. And here's where the investigation takes a turn. Gillette talks. He sits down with detectives and makes a full confession. According to Gillette's statement, Brian Terrell Davis ordered him to shoot Zariah. Davis allegedly told him if he didn't do it, Davis would kill them both.
Please state your name and date of birth.
Jacree James.
Police say 19-year-old Jacree James Gillette made a full confession, telling detectives that 37-year-old Jarrell Davis ordered him to shoot Zariah or he would kill them both.
Gillette claimed he was following orders, that he was scared, that Davis was the one pulling the strings. Now, whether you believe that or not is up to you. An 18-year-old man claiming he was forced to pull the trigger on a pregnant 16-year-old girl. Some people hear that and think he's trying to shift blame. Others think maybe Davis really did manipulate a younger, less experienced person into doing his dirty work. Either way, the result is the same. Zariah is dead. Her baby is dead. And 2 men are responsible. Almost a month after Zariah's body was found, Phoenix police finally made their move. They arrested Brian Terrell Davis, age 37, and Jacree James Gillette, age 18. Both men were charged with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder, 1 count for Zariah, 1 count for her unborn daughter, Zaloney. Premeditated. That word matters. It means this wasn't a heat-of-the-moment situation. It wasn't a fight that went too far. It was planned, thought out, calculated. Criminal defense attorney Benjamin Taylor broke it down.
I mean, with the unborn child, they could either charge the defendant with killing the baby that's unborn and the mother. So basically, each count could be 1 count for the mother and 1 count for the unborn child.
And prosecutors didn't stop at murder charges for Davis. They added sexual misconduct with a minor to his list. Because let's not forget, Zariah was 15 when he started having sex with her. 15. In the eyes of the law, she couldn't consent. It was statutory rape, plain and simple. Davis and Gillette appeared, in front of a judge late at night. The courtroom was tense. Family members filled the seats. The judge read the charges. There are allegations that you committed murder in the first degree, which is a Class 1 felony. Both men entered pleas of not guilty. Let that sit for a second. Not guilty. Despite the confession, despite the evidence, despite the dead pregnant teenager, Taylor explained that Davis's criminal history would work against him during sentencing if he was convicted. The death penalty, that's what's on the table. Arizona still has capital punishment, and this case checks a lot of boxes that prosecutors look at when deciding whether to seek it. A minor victim, a pregnant victim, premeditation, a defendant with prior convictions for similar crimes. Taylor didn't. Sugarcoated, because you have a minor, a pregnant minor. This is a very egregious act that was caused here. And so, ultimately, the prosecutor can even go death penalty in the future if they decide to. But here's the thing about the legal system. It moves slow. Trials take time. Appeals take longer. And in the meantime, Zariah's family has to sit with their grief, their anger, and their questions. Questions about why Sunshine Residential let Zariah walk out that door. Questions about why DCS waited 3 months to schedule a forensic interview. Questions about how Davis, a man with a conviction for impregnating a 14-year-old, was ever in a position to do it again. When reporters reached out to Sunshine Residential, the group home released a statement. We continue working with the Phoenix Police Department and partnering agencies in there. And that's where the statement cuts off in the coverage. They declined to comment further, citing the ongoing prosecution. But Zariah's family wasn't buying it. They wanted accountability. They wanted answers. Attorney Benjamin Taylor said the group home could potentially face legal consequences if they were found negligent.
The group home here, if they are found negligent here, they can be found negligent for child abuse charges if there's any information or evidence to see that the group home was here liable. It could have prevented the murders of these people. The system is broken here. A lot of times it's just overwhelmed with minors. A lot of times there's not enough resources out there, and sometimes minors unfortunately die in the hands of the group homes.
Not die despite the group homes. Die in the hands of them. Zariah's aunt Canella and her uncle Eric kept coming back to one point.
She had family that loved her, that could have taken care of her, that she wouldn't still be in the system. I tell you one thing, she'd still be alive if she was with us.
And they're probably right. If DCS had let the family take custody years ago, Zariah wouldn't have been bouncing between group homes. She wouldn't have been in a place where a predator could access her. She wouldn't have been allowed to walk out at 8 p.m. into the night. But the system said no. The system kept her, and the system failed her. As both defendants sat in Maricopa County Jail awaiting trial, prosecutors were building their case. They had Gillette's confession. They had the paternity test linking Davis to the baby. They had Zariah's statement to her caseworker about being intimidated and afraid. They had Davis's prior conviction. They had the order of protection he violated. They had the gun found in his car during that traffic stop. The evidence was stacking up. But evidence doesn't bring Zariah back. It doesn't give her family the daughter they fought to raise. It doesn't give Zaloney the chance to take her first breath. On a Saturday in July 2025, family and friends gathered to say goodbye. Zariah Dodd and her unborn daughter Zaloney were laid to rest together. The girl, who spent most of her life being moved from place to place, finally had somewhere permanent to stay. But it shouldn't have been a grave. The night before the funeral, a vigil was held at Maryview Park, the same place where Zariah's body was found. People showed up with candles, flowers, and photos. They stood at 57th Avenue in Osborne at 7 p.m., remembering a girl who deserved so much more than what she got. Her grandmother, Luzelle Spencer, sat at that kitchen table with family members, talking about who Zariah could have been. Not who she was, because they knew who she was.
Always in the mix and always talking. I mean, if she loved you, she loved you. And you could see it, it was genuine all the time.
Her family says the state took custody of her when she was 1, as her mother battled addiction and her father was incarcerated. Zariah would remain in the child welfare system despite attempts by her relatives to take her into their care.
They tell us to call them if the kid is in danger. Okay, she in danger from her mama, but y'all done put her in worse danger.
Because this wasn't some unavoidable tragedy. This wasn't a car accident or to a sudden illness. This was preventable. Every single step of the way, there were moments where someone could have intervened. Someone could have said no. Someone could have protected her, but they didn't. Let's walk through it one more time, because people need to understand how many failures it took to get to July 5th, 2025. Zariah was taken into DCS custody at age 1. Her family fought to get her back. They were told no repeatedly. So she grew up in group homes, moving from place to place, never having stability, never having a real home. At 15 years old, she met Brian Terrell Davis, or he found her. We don't know exactly how they met. What we do know is that he was a 36-year-old man with a conviction for getting a 14-year-old pregnant when he was 19. The system knew about him. His name was in databases. His record was clear. In December 2023, Davis had sex with Zariah. She was 15. He was 36. By early 2024, she was pregnant. In April 2025, Zariah told her DCS caseworker everything. She said Davis intimidated her. She said she was afraid. She said he had guns. The caseworker did her job. She notified police. Phoenix PD opened an investigation. They scheduled a forensic interview for Zariah. 3 months later, 3 months. In those 3 months, Davis was still free, still armed, still dangerous, and nobody thought to check on Zariah more closely. Nobody thought to tighten supervision at the group home. Nobody thought that maybe, just maybe, a pregnant teenager who reported being intimidated by an armed predator might need extra protection. On July 4th, Zariah asked to see Jacree James Gillette. The staff said no. She asked to go for a walk. They said yes, at 8 p.m. Knowing her history, knowing she'd told other girls she planned to leave with her baby's father, they let her walk out. 6.5 hours later, a gunshot. 1 bullet, 2 lives, gone. And now we're left asking, who's responsible? Is it Davis, the predator who couldn't stop targeting teenage girls? Absolutely. Is it Gillette, who allegedly pulled the trigger? Without question. But what about DCS, the agency that took Zariah from her family and then couldn't keep her safe? What about Sunshine Residential, the group home that let her walk out into the night? What about the investigators who gave a dangerous man 3 months of freedom after a scared pregnant teenager reported him? Moving on to the bigger picture, because Zariah's story isn't unique. Her uncle Eric said it best. This is her story, but this is many other stories that are happening to these kids and these teens that are not being watched after. The child welfare system in America is broken. Overworked caseworkers, underfunded group homes, kids slipping through cracks that are more like canyons. And when things go wrong, when a child dies, everyone points fingers at everyone else, and nothing changes. Benjamin Taylor, the defense attorney, put it plainly. The system is broken here a lot of times. It's overwhelmed with minors. A lot of times, there's not enough resources out there. And sometimes minors, unfortunately, die in the hands of the group homes. But let me tell you something. Overwhelmed and not enough resources doesn't cut it when a 16-year-old girl ends up dead. That's not an excuse. That's an admission that we're failing our most vulnerable kids, and we're okay with it as long as we can say we tried. Zariah's family wasn't okay with it. They've been trying to get her out of the system for years. They had love to give. They had a home to offer. They had family bonds that could have given her stability. But the system said she was better off in state custody. They tell us to call them if the kid is in danger. Eric said, "Okay, she in danger from my mama, but y'all done put her in worse danger." Think about that. The state removed Zariah from her mother to protect her, then placed her in a situation where a convicted predator had access to her, where a group home let her walk out at night, where investigators took 3 months to follow up on her report of abuse. So what's safer? An imperfect family trying their best? Or a system that's so broken it can't even keep track of the kids it's supposed to be protecting? Zariah's aunt Canella and Uncle Eric said it over and over. If she was with us, she'd still be alive. And in a million years, they never thought they'd be sitting at a kitchen table, planning a funeral for a girl who should have been planning her daughter's baby shower. How do you grieve? One family member asked. How do you process this? Like, it's hard. It is hard, because there's no closure when the people who were supposed to protect your child are the same people who let her down. There's no peace when you know that every warning sign was ignored, every red flag was missed, every opportunity to intervene was wasted. As of now, Brian, Terrell Davis, and Jacree James Gillette are still sitting in Maricopa County Jail, waiting for their trial. They've both pled not guilty. The legal process will unfold slowly motions, hearings, maybe a trial, maybe a plea deal. The death penalty is still on the table for both of them. But even if they both get life in prison, even if they both get the death penalty, it won't bring Zariah back. It won't give her family the chance to raise her like they wanted to. It won't give Zaloney the chance to grow up, to laugh, to live. Justice in a courtroom is one thing, but real justice would have been preventing this in the first place. Real justice would have been listening when Zariah's family said they wanted her. Real justice would have been acting immediately when she reported Davis in April. Real justice would have been keeping her safe in the group home. We didn't get real justice. We got a dead girl and 2 men in jail. So what do we learn from this? What changes? Hopefully, we learn that the child welfare system needs more than just good intentions. It needs funding. It needs oversight. It needs accountability. When a child in state custody ends up pregnant by a much older man, someone needs to answer for that. When a group home lets a teenage girl walk out at night knowing she's at risk, someone needs to answer for that. When investigators take 3 months to interview a victim, someone needs to answer for that. But more than anything, we need to listen to families. Zariah's family knew the system was failing her. They said it out loud. They tried to intervene, and they were shut down at every turn. How many other kids are in the same situation right now? How many other families are fighting to get their children back while caseworkers tell them no? How many other teenage girls are being preyed on by grown men because nobody's watching closely enough? Zariah Dodd was 16 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. She was about to be a mother. She deserved protection. She deserved safety. She deserved better. Instead, she got a system that took her from her family, moved her around like a file in a cabinet, ignored her when she asked for help, and let her walk out into the hands of the man who would kill her. That's not care. That's not protection. That's negligence dressed up in policy language and budget constraints. And Zariah paid for it with her life. So did Zaloney, the baby girl who never got to take a single breath outside the womb. Their names should be remembered, not just as victims, but as evidence of a system that needs to be torn down and rebuilt from the ground up. Because if we don't change something, if we just move on to the next case and the next tragedy without demanding accountability, then we're all complicit in what happened to Zariah. Her family said it best. In a million years, this wouldn't have come across our mind that this would be the moment that we would be in. So, how do you grieve? How do you process this? Like, it's hard. It shouldn't be hard. It should have never happened. Rest in peace, Zariah Dodd and Zaloney. You deserved better. You deserve to live. If Zariah's story made you feel something, anger, sadness, frustration, hold on to that. Because that feeling, that's what pushes us to demand better. For the kids still trapped in broken systems. For the families still fighting to bring them home. Drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it. This is Grave Kisses TV, where we don't just tell stories, we remember the names behind them. Zariah Dodd, Zaloney, gone but not forgotten. Until next time.